Minnesota tonight. Tune in, Minnesota tonight. Minnesota tonight. Tune in, Minnesota tonight. Tune in, Minnesota. Tune in, Minnesota tonight. Tune in, Minnesota tonight. Tonight. Minnesota tonight. Tonight. Minnesota tonight. Minnesota tonight.
I'm Lizzie Gardner.
And I'm Cody Nelson.
And this is the state of Minnesota.
A new report shows that the most popular baby names in Minnesota this year are Henry and Olivia. In related news, Minnesotans have mastered giving birth to middle-aged people.
With a passion for surprise trips to Canada and local casinos, the Coon Rapids Police Department are currently searching for a 57-year-old woman who was last seen leaving her home this past Thursday. A missing persons expert was quoted as saying, "Oh, we got it narrowed down to either missing or just a fun person. We kind of hit a wall after that."
A replica of the classic Scooby-Doo Mystery Machine van was stolen and crashed into the side of an East St. Paul home early Saturday morning. Local authorities brought in a Great Dane for questioning, but apparently he has a rare tight rauerby.
The Minnesota Vikings are teaming up with United Health Group to put together a charity flag football tournament that is open to the public and played at US Bank Stadium a day before the Vikings play there for the first time. Very fitting that not only are the Vikings not the first team to play in their own stadium, the first people that aren't even getting paid for it.
After a thorough search of over 100,000 vanity plates, the Minnesota Department of Public Safety flagged 51 plates as potentially offensive or obscene. And I have to say, I'm furious that I'm being lumped in with these people. Everyone's so quick to judge the phrase 69 King, but nobody ever wants to talk to me about the moon landing. It was cool.
New Twin Cities Archbishop Bernard Hebda said that Twin Cities Catholics have told him they want a church that is more transparent, more accountable, and more engaged in the work of evangelization. In response, a spokesperson for the church said, "No."
The computer game Oregon Trail, created by 3 Minnesota teachers in 1971, was inducted into the Video Game Hall of Fame last week. In their acceptance speech, the teachers said, "Despite the level of success and ubiquity it reached, the game will always foremost exist to honor the legacy of those 6 brave 4th graders who gave their lives while we forded the river that fateful night. Madison, Alex P, Alex H, Aiden, Madison, this one's for you."
An Inver Grove Heights garbage hauler has been cited by the Better Business Bureau for refusing to respond to up to 17 customer complaints, generating an F rating. When reached for comment, one Inver Grove Heights resident said, "Well, we weren't really sure if complaining was too extreme, but we decided it was kind of appropriate when we started waking up to additional garbage." In recent response, the garbage hauler said, "Hey, one man's trash," and then just sort of waited around until everyone in the room got it.
And speaking of Inver Grove Heights having garbage, authorities recovered a decomposed human leg from the Mississippi River in the suburb on Wednesday and are investigating whether it belonged to a boater missing since last month. When reached for comment, the missing boater said, "I'm not missing, and that's not my leg." Thanks for stopping by, though. People never stop by anymore.
Sorry. In between tour stops in South Dakota and Wisconsin, country superstar Carrie Underwood was spotted watching a youth hockey game at an ice arena in Edina. When asked about her pit stop, Underwood said, "Youth hockey is why I sing."
Garrett DeWitt was walking his dogs in Brainerd, Minnesota last week when he was attacked by a bear. Now, according to DeWitt, who was a Taekwondo master, the bear charged him, knocked him over, and then the bear ran away. In other news, enrollment in Taekwondo classes has skyrocketed amongst bears.
The University of Minnesota Board of Regents formally appointed Mark Coyle as athletic director, starting at an $850,000 salary. Woo! Last time a Gopher was worth that much money, he was renegotiating a contract for the set of Caddyshack 2.
And that may seem like a lot of money, but most of it will go quickly to the sexual harassment lawsuits. Stevie Wonder has recently encouraged fans to honor the memory of Prince by making love to the gift of his music. First of all, way ahead of you, Stevie. Second of all, she's still left unimpressed.
If at first you don't succeed.
Yeah.
Copies of a 17,000-page document examining the potential environmental impact of the Southwest Light Rail project are now available at various public buildings along its Minneapolis route. Personally, I am going to wait for the 20,000-page sequel about the environmental impact of printing the document and then binge read the whole series.
A pedestrian was seriously injured when he was struck by a police squad car on routine patrol in Eagan early Thursday morning. While details are still unclear, officers claim that the pedestrian was dangerous and definitely going for their gun.
Hundreds of Bernie Sanders supporters gathered in Fargo, North Dakota to what was titled the Future to Believe in rally in a local Ramada Plaza hotel. After exiting the rally, supporters immediately stopped believing in the future when they returned to Fargo, North Dakota.
A Twin Cities attorney says there could be another potential heir to Prince's multi-million-dollar estate. His name is Jean-Pierre. He played xylophone on Sign of the Times, and he is a peacock.
And for tonight's top story, the Minnesota congressional delegation held its annual hot dish competition in Washington, D.C. this past Wednesday. The event started 6 years ago as a way for Minnesota representatives to engage in friendly competition, to pander to their constituents, and maybe share some batshit crazy Michelle Bachmann stories.
Everybody's got one.
Oh, yeah.
Last year's winner, 4th District Representative Betty McCollum, got second place with her Making Hot Dish Great Again, which was said to be an overcooked mix of frustration, chauvinism, and xenophobia topped with a mop of unnaturally golden spaghetti.
But this year's winner is 1st District Representative Tim Waltz for his turkey taco hot dish. Woo, that is a tongue twister. As per tradition, winner of the competitions received an engraved Pyrex pan and a week's worth of heartburn. Well, once again, I'm Lizzie Gardner.
And I'm 5 years away from playing the annoying best friend in a Zac Efron movie.
And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Minnesota tonight. Minnesota tonight.
Tonight, we'll take 10 to talk about pain, the feeling you get when you look at a picture of your 12-year-old self having a great time at your cousin's bat mitzvah. It's a deep burn. Now, Americans treat pain much like your coworker Jerry treats the box of donuts left in the break room, by totally destroying it without mercy. To do that, we crush any feelings of pain by using powerful analgesics. Now, before we move on, I want to be clear that I said analgesic, a word for a pain-relieving drug, not Anal G6, the K-pop band that is sweeping the nation, or anal e-cig, which at this point, honestly, could be a thing. You know what? We'll just call them painkillers. We'll call them painkillers and be done. Anyway, so this can only be done using the big daddy butt cigs of the painkiller family, none other than opioids. Opioids are drugs that are derived from opium, a naturally occurring substance from poppy plants that humans have harvested for centuries to create medicines, justify imperialism, and to make hanging out in dens way more interesting. Opioids include everything from heroin to legal prescription drugs like Vicodin and Oxycontin. But regardless if it comes in a syringe or a pill bottle, opioids all essentially work the same way. They stop neurotransmitters carrying pain signals from reaching the brain. So every time you take a dose of an opioid, a miniature game of Red Rover starts in your brain. On one side, you have the opioid, represented by the 1980 East Germany weightlifting team. And on the other side, you have the pain signals, represented by a 12-year-old Jewish boy from Connecticut. The pain signals try to get through, but obviously can't. I mean, how could you expect them to beat those guys? They're not even a man yet. So, the result is a general feeling of painlessness, which sounds very nice, especially to Americans. Not feeling pain is basically the chemical version of the American dream. And we are living that dream. While Americans make up only 5% of the world's population, we consume 80% of the world's prescription opioids. Yeah, that's a startling fact, especially given that Americans already consume 80% of the Earth's supply of Mountain Dew and over 95% of the world's patients. Since 1999, prescriptions in the state of Minnesota alone have increased more than 400%. Right now, the CDC estimates that for every 100 Minnesotans, there are 62 active prescriptions for opioid painkillers. That is a lot. That means every time you go into a Target, everyone there has enough prescriptions to go around for almost 2 Kid Rock concerts, or an entire weekend at Charlie Sheen's. Now, while it might seem like a good thing that people are getting effective relief from pain, there's a major downside. Opioid painkillers are incredibly prone to create chemical dependency. Opioids create dependency because they increase the levels of dopamine in a person's brain. Dopamine is the chemical in your brain that is released when you do something rewarding. It's often released during sex, running, getting a gold star, or getting a gold star during sex. This feeling is so powerful, people who find it artificially through painkillers often become addicted. At this point, it's important to remember that these pills are basically heroin. And Minnesotans are starting to feel the negative impact of taking basically heroin for extended amounts of time. Over a quarter of all drug treatment admissions in the state of Minnesota are related to heroin and opioid prescription drugs. And since 1999, more people have died from overdoses related to prescription painkillers than heroin, or any other opioid for that matter. The amount of opioid-related death has increased every year since 1999, peaking in 2014 with over 319 deaths in Minnesota alone. That's a higher number than the deaths that are attributed to both car crashes and homicides. And it's twice the number of deaths related to cocaine and meth combined. And so far, the numbers only continue to rise. And while you might assume that the people affected by the opioid crisis are just disaffected teenagers that look like extras from Trainspotting, the truth is that the average person who overdoses from opioids in Minnesota is a white male between the ages of 45 and 54. These are your parents and grandparents. These are the people who ruffle your hair and force you to listen to stories about finding parking outside of a Perkins. These are the people who hang up clips of Marmaduke on the fridge and call you when they're having problems with the Wi-Fi. Now, how did this situation get more depressing than losing your virginity while listening to Elliott Smith's Needle in the Hay? Well, opioids like Vicodin and Percocet have been available for decades. It wasn't until the late 90s, though, when the epidemic started. And that was in part because in 1996, Purdue Pharma, a then relatively small pharmaceutical company with headquarters in Connecticut, convinced the FDA that OxyContin wasn't addictive and could be prescribed to treat chronic pain. 6 years later, Purdue Pharma's executive team of 3 suited-up lumps of mayonnaise pleaded guilty to intentionally misleading the United States government to allow OxyContin to be prescribed for chronic pain. That lawsuit costed them $600 million to be paid over 8 years, or $75 million a year. And while that seems like a lot, keep in mind that they made a net profit of $3.1 billion in 2010. That's like punishing a child by taking away just one Lego. It's totally ineffective because Timmy still has 2,925,000,000 Legos to play with. For some perspective, a heroin dealer in Minnesota will make around $100 selling a gram, but if caught with any amount of heroin for the first time, they can face up to 20 years in jail and $250,000 of fine, essentially ruining their life forever. OxyContin opened the floodgates for other pharmaceutical companies to push doctors to prescribe similar drugs to treat chronic pain, a condition that the Institute of Medicine estimates 1 in 3 American adults suffer from, meaning that we thought we could medicate ourselves enough to not feel pain entirely. Look, that's not a public health policy. That's a bad line of breakup poetry written by a high school student who goes by his middle name, okay? You're not Anton, you're Jeff, okay? Jesus. The state of Minnesota has responded recently by passing Steve's Law, a law that legalized the use of naloxone, a drug that counteracts the effects of opioids. If someone is overdosing from prescription painkillers or heroin, administering naloxone can literally save their life. And because this epidemic is so pervasive, chances are that you know someone who has been affected by opioids. If you know someone or are struggling yourself with opioid addiction, you can contact treatment centers like Hazelden Betty Ford for more information, or visit your local CVS to pick up a prescription for naloxone. Most of all, contact your state representatives and tell them that this is an issue you care about. But ultimately, the bigger problem is the fact that we think we can eliminate pain instantly. We want fast answers, fast relief, so Minnesotans can stop complaining about pain and get back to doing what they do best: complaining about sports, construction, and the weather. But unfortunately, the body doesn't work that way, and there are other options that may be way less addictive, and it's the job of doctors, medical professionals, and others to help us find them. Pain cannot be eliminated right away. It's a haunting, terrible, embarrassing, and inevitable part of our life. Kind of like photos from the most awkward period of my life. And over time, we hopefully will learn how to deal with it. Thank you. Stay nice, Minnesota. All right.
Minnesota tonight.
For tonight's Minterview, we have here Jenna Haupert from River Ridge, right? Did I say it right?
Yep.
River
West
Ridge
River.
Chemical Dependency Center. She is the admissions director there. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. So before we start, can you just give me a brief overview of what your position is and what you see during your position?
Absolutely. So I'm the director of admissions, so I oversee basically all of the admissions into our programs. So we do both inpatient and outpatient. We're a co-occurring treatment center, so we do mental health and chemical dependency at the same time. So I do assessments with clients, phone interviews, face-to-face interviews, more or less to screen out appropriateness for our programs, make sure they're at the right level of care, and then I oversee kind of all the other evaluators at our center to make referrals to our programs and other programs outside of our facility, because we by no means can treat everybody's needs.
You
but
can't?
No, but just
Okay.
making sure we
Good
kind
to
of
know.
are serving the people that we can serve and making sure that we're assisting and trying to help the people that we can't serve get into a program.
Right.
Unfortunately, chemical dependency treatment's not easy to get into.
No. Well, so to be clear, chemical dependency means people who are suffering from addiction
Yep.
to
Any type of chemical.
things.
So,
Any chemicals.
Yep. Every chemical is diagnosed separately. So there's alcohol addiction, there's cannabis addiction, there's opiate addiction, there's stimulant addiction. If you meet the criteria for a substance use disorder, generally you're going to meet criteria for a chemical dependency program.
The focus of this episode is to talk about specifically opioid addiction. And have you seen an increase of people who are suffering from chemical dependency to opioids in any way?
Absolutely. In the past couple years, we've seen just a huge increase of people with opiate addiction, and which led to a lot of the heroin addiction as well. So it kind of goes hand in hand. And it may have its ebbs and flows here and there with what we see a lot of people using heroin coming in, but it's pretty consistent. We're always seeing people who have been prescribed opiates, have abused them at some point in time, maybe even if it's not their drug of choice or the main chemical that they're addicted to.
Just
it's
a
something
hobby
that
drug.
they concern with, yep. Or we have people that are addicted to alcohol and other things, and then they're prescribed opiates for their pain, not necessarily recognizing that that is going to severely impact your ability to quit using alcohol or quit other things, because it's a disease in the brain.
Right.
So it's impacting all of your neurotransmitters, and people don't necessarily understand, well, that's not my drug of choice. I don't get high off that. I don't like that. So why can't I just keep taking this prescription medication and I'll just quit drinking? And
Right.
it'll be okay. And a lot of times it just goes hand in hand.
Wow. Well, I don't understand, I think, entirely is like, how are we still at, I mean, it's been almost like, it's several years of just increased opioid addiction from prescriptions. Do you feel like doctors and treatment centers are starting to take notice and things are starting to change?
I definitely do. You're seeing a lot of doctors now that will prescribe less or will not allow refills. There's the registry. We're all pharmacies. When you get any controlled substances, they have to register that in some database so that you can more accurately track if clients are going to multiple people doctor shopping and getting multiple prescriptions from multiple places.
Can you explain what doctor shopping is?
Well, if you find a provider that is familiar with chemical dependency and you just want opiate medications over and over, ideally, that doctor will recommend some other form of chronic pain management. So chronic pain clinics, physical therapies, acupunctures. Basically go to a pain clinic, look at this, see if there's other options, other medications, other things to do. Some people aren't interested in that because they just want the opiate medication. So they might go to another doctor, get a couple prescriptions before that doctor starts making a recommendation for pain clinics, go somewhere else, get a couple prescriptions. And sometimes it's the addict, and sometimes it's people just looking for medications to sell on the streets to do
Right.
other habits, things like that.
So in their defense, though, for not the people selling on the streets to do other things, which I assume means just like get more tokens for an arcade. That's what I
Absolutely.
would do, right? That's what you.
Absolutely.
Are those other treatments effective? Like, are acupuncture treatments as effective as taking an opioid? Like, are we talking about apples and oranges, or oranges and oranges?
I don't know if any treatment of any sort is going to be as effective as taking an opiate. It's the same thing with sleeping medications and a benzo. So you're not going to get, you can meditate to sleep better.
What's a benzo?
It's one of the sedatives, one of the downer medications.
Oh, okay.
Like an Ambien, lorazepam, Xanax, those.
Some of those, I heard marzipan. I was
A little bit totally different. Yeah.
Totally different. It helps me go to bed though. Still, yeah.
It really just kind of depends on your injury. And that's why, as chemical dependency professionals, we usually defer to the medical providers. And we say, you really do have to follow their directives because they're kind of what understand medically what's going on with you. And the best we can do is help advocate for something that's not an opiate-based medication or something that's going to be a little bit less dangerous if it's something that they absolutely need to stay on.
Okay, so we have to trust our doctors. Trust them.
If you're concerned about chemical dependency things, ask your doctor how familiar they are. Unfortunately, many doctors aren't required to do a lot of training in chemical dependency.
A doctor is not required to do.
They're required to do some, but it's not very much.
But they can give you the chemical dependent drugs. Wait.
Yeah, they're able to prescribe, but they don't spend a whole lot of time in chemical dependency programs really getting a lot of information. We typically recommend to meet with psychiatrists. They know a little bit more of the mental health stuff. They've done a little bit more training. They're a little bit more familiar with some of those interactions.
That just blows my mind. I didn't realize that doctors were not necessarily experts in that field. That's like, I can't even think of a good analogy. It's like someone like me showing someone else how to use a chainsaw. It's like, just
sounds terrifying.
It
sounds terrifying.
Okay, I think that's a good analogy then.
Yes.
I did think of a good one. Thank you for saying so. So before we go, what would you say to someone if like someone wants to get help for themselves or help for someone that they know and love? What can you say to them?
Well, a lot of times, especially in admissions, I encourage people to just get education, to really look into the resources that are available to them. For a lot of people struggling with opiate addiction in specific, the withdrawals are incredibly uncomfortable, and they're really scary for people to try to deal with. And then most people think, well, I have to go to detox, and the only thing they know about detox is the terrible stories that they've heard from their friends that have been to detox. But really realizing that it's a safe place, that they'll give you medications that'll keep you comfortable and potentially alive, depending on the severity of the intoxication of the individual. But then just exploring the resources that are out there. Minnesota has a huge recovery community, especially kind of in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. There's so many different resources. There's so many different treatment programs. And at this point in time, I work at a abstinence-based treatment program, so we require complete abstinence in our program. There's lots of harm reductions. There's lots of Suboxone treatment centers and stuff out there that we can, individualize for any person. How can they get services so that they can be a functioning member of society again? And there's lots of different options out there. So usually you always have to start with assessments. I say just talk to a professional. Call your county and ask them about funding if you don't have insurance. Ask them about treatment centers in your area. They can provide you resources, the human services departments at any of the counties. And just at least talk to a professional. See what options there are and go from there.
Awesome. Well, thank you, professional, for coming to talk to us.
Thank you for having me.
Jenna Haupert of River Ridge Chemical Dependency Network. Yeah, Thank you very much. Thanks for coming once again.
Tune in tonight. Minnesota tonight. Minnesota tonight. Yeah. I'll probably take those. Tune in tonight. Minnesota tonight. Minnesota tonight. Yeah.
Everyone, good time.
Shia. How you feeling? You feeling good? I love you guys, man. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and drop that beat for me. Yeah. I know you don't know me, but I'm a little paranoid. So I wrote a song about it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Look. I always had a feeling that somebody out to get me. Out to get me, out to get me, out to get me. Always had a feeling that somebody following me. Following me, following me, following me. I always had a feeling that somebody out to get me. I always had a feeling that somebody following me. I always had a feeling that somebody laughing at me. And they coming for me. And they plotting on me. Look, I get this eerie feeling. It usually comes at night while I'm staring at the ceiling. Cause I don't wanna close my eyes when the lights go out and the room gets dark. That's when I start to fall apart. Feel the wheel to a world full of clones, destination unknown. So I play it smart. Always, I get that feeling, that feeling. They laughing at me, they coming for me. Who that peeping through my window? Is it deep in my mental that's keeping me from getting decent sleep? And recently it's been dismal. I look around and see sick souls with they slick ways and they big nose in my face, but they just chase for a big face and they big pros, telling me I need to get dough, I need to talk slick a little bit more. You getting it, but it's just temporary. So really you ain't get and dudes act like they pimp those when actually they in chick mode. You watching me with suspicion just cause I'm different from the average. So I always had a feeling. I get that feeling, that feeling. They laughing at me, they coming for me. Every room I enter, it's like they can see my flaws, keep my emotions pent up until the writing's on the wall, and they all just wait for me to fall. Cause I'm the one that vultures wanna pick apart. Feel the wheel to a world full of clones, destination unknown. I gotta play it smart. I get that feeling, that feeling. They laughing at me, they coming for me. Is that paranoid? Is that paranoid? That's paranoid, that's paranoid. And that's paranoid, that's paranoid. And that's paranoid, that's paranoid, that's paranoid. Shit. Thank you. I did produce that, so I just wanted to throw that out there. I did produce this one also, just to let you know. If you need music or you know somebody who needs that. Shit. Oh, mama. Look. Oh, mama. I be banging decibels, can't wait to be by myself. Hit the volume, turn the way up. You go night-night, but I'ma stay up. You can't touch me, cause I'm in orbit. Feel these rhythms and I absorb it until I actually feel it coursing through my veins without no heroin. But it's so potent, it's like time's frozen, drowning in it like a rum and coke. Buzz keeps going, I hide them hoping. No, I told you, you're best to be chosen. All I know, and it's like an old friend, my only homie, my darkest moments. Open my soul and I fly. I'm feeling shit. Oh, mama. Oh, my mama. Look, I just wanna sing. I can hear a melody and everything. I don't know why it comes to me. It makes me sing. La 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 la. It makes me say la 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 la. Something goes out of me, I'm out of control. Kills all the doubt in me, comes from the soul. Rooted from daddy, banging bongos. The truth is so open in each syllable. Came with the back, now I feel so exposed. But it's like I said, it's out my control. Telling you secrets that you shouldn't know. Too late to keep what I feel on the the low. Now you see me through God's eyes. I spirits me when we stop time. You can feel what I'm saying, it's lot lines. My deepest thoughts, if you got time. Let's lose it all till you feel euphoric or futuristic. Prehistoric, every corner of the galaxy we explore.
I'm feeling
Woo! Oh my, my, my. Shit. Oh my, my. I just wanna sing. I can hear a melody and everything. I don't know why it comes to me. It makes me say, I just love music, you know what I mean? It makes me say, la la. Chill. That's all I got for you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Minnesota tonight. Tune in. Minnesota tonight. Minnesota tonight. Tune in. Minnesota tonight. Tune in. Minnesota. Tune in. Minnesota tonight. Tune in. Minnesota tonight. Tonight. Minnesota tonight. Minnesota tonight.